Hey Bag Maker, I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Sewcial Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everybody, happy Sunday and welcome to Sewcial Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me. As you can see by the empty chair, Danny will be joining me on set in just a minute. I see Lori is watching, Deb from Maryland, Merlin from Oregon. So welcome everyone, whether you're watching live or watching the recording later on during the week. So this evening's show will be the second ever segment of Bag Lab. So stay tuned for that later on in the show. Super excited about Bag Lab. If you're not familiar with it, it's a new segment that I introduced in order to discuss your questions in more detail. So if you've been watching me live for a while, you know that I always answer questions live during the show. And since my husband Danny is choosing those questions for me, he's usually collecting them either on his computer or the laptop when he's joining me on set. So I have not seen any of these questions before they pop up on the screen. I see them at the same time that you do. And so Bag Lab is just my opportunity to talk about your questions, which I have received ahead of time via email. And obviously I have more time to prepare my response. And so
hey everyone.
Hello Danny, I'll be doing that later on the show. And if you would like to submit your own question for Bag Lab, whether it's a bag making question about choosing fabric for a particular project, how to modify a project, I have a bunch of suggestions of different topics, but of course you can add your own. And instructions on how to submit your question is in the description. So if you'd like to check that out after the show and submit your own question, please feel free to do that. So today, when I woke up, there was several inches of snow outside here in Chicago, and I don't really usually watch the news, so I wasn't expecting the snow, but thankfully it was the lightest version of snow. If you live in an area where you get snow over the winter, the light version is my favorite because it's the easiest to shovel. So my son, William, and I sort of double team the snow removal. We have an electric snowblower. So William, it's an electric snowblower,
Yes,
right?
it is.
William mans the snowblower and I shovel the areas that the snowblower can't take care of, such as the front steps.
So you womans the shovel.
Mm-hmm. Or around a car that's parked in the driveway. That's my job. So sounds really easy, but I was outside almost as long as William was, so he did a great job. And
so did Sarah.
I have to say he was cold afterwards because today he decided he was too cold to wear his snow pants, but I wore mine.
I even warned him. I said it's light snow. It's going to blow in those pants. He's got like terry cloth joggers, and I'm like, it's just going to stick to it, and they're going to get wet and cold.
Yep, so I was warm and toasty in my snow pants. I'm not ashamed.
Sarah wears her snow pants to pick Violet up from school because we go early, so we're near the front of the line to get out quick. And so she doesn't start the car and stay warm. She just dresses according to the temperature outside, and she's bundled up and ready to go. And I can't do that because I'm a creature comfort kind of guy.
Well, I read a few months ago, a New York Times article or some sort of article about idling your car is not good for the environment. So when I read that, I was like, oh no, like I've been sitting in the pickup line with my car on, and so that's why I decided to wear the snow pants so I could, once I pulled up in the line, I could turn the car off. So yeah, I wear my snow pants a lot.
Also, I never say hi to my mom, but hi mom, she watches the show all the time. How you doing? I love you.
All right, so Danny has a bunch of things to talk
segue
about.
into that. Like, well, there's two things we could talk about. One, I'm gonna give you a little sneak thing too. It's like, why wasn't Danny helping with the snow? Well,
I wasn't trying to.
No. I was gonna use that as like a segue to the next thing. Not this thing yet. But we moved our shop this past weekend. Pretty much 95% of it, and we'll get to that in the future. But I just want to throw that tidbit out. My first thing I want to talk about, I want to let it mull over so you guys can have questions about it. My friend Bart Komar, he has a YouTube channel as well as Instagram and Facebook. He is a woodworker. He's a master carpenter. He does amazing stuff with wood. He's built a bike out of wood, almost like 99% out of the wood. He's built a shed. He's built a table that's made out of 10,000 wood, like colored pencils. And he poured acrylic. And I got some pictures I'm going to show you guys real quick. This is Bart with his wood bike that he literally laid out the layers. He bent it. He shaped the wood. It's amazing. He is truly an artist. This is a shed he made completely himself. Those doors he welded for the first time. Every rivet he patinaed it. He built this thing from top to bottom on his own. I can show you a million more pictures, but I wanted to shout out to Bart because he sent me. Someone asked him to donate. They were having a charity, and to ask him to make some butcher block. What are they called, sir? For
Cutting boards?
Cutting boards and
Okay.
like charcuterie boards or something. I'm not very cultured. So he made these out of his extras. He made some coasters for a giveaway. I happened to win. And so he mailed to me. I'll go to overhead and show you guys real quick. And so he took the leftovers, cut them in smaller pieces, and poured epoxy to make these little ones. And he did the edges. I put 4 together because I have some giant cups. And I put it on there. And I was just so happy to win something. And he used like a blue coating. He is so talented. I wanted to share him with you guys. He has...
I hope you linked it in the description.
I did not link his channel, but it's definitely... I'll do it after the show. Komar Project on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. He's makes you smile. You watch him, he's very energetic, super happy dude, and he's just a good person. I want to shout him out. He's on his path to hitting 1 million followers. I said him early on, and he's a great guy, and I really want you, if you guys are interested in stuff like that, spread the word. Bart Komar Project. Yep, that's our first tidbit. And second one, I don't know if we're going to go to the shop yet.
That's next on my outline.
Thank God, because I jumped the gun on that one. But yeah, we found a location, and boy, did we move fast. It was like 2 weeks from start to finish, finding a location, signing the lease.
A commercial
Yes,
space, right?
Commercial space.
Yep.
It's got a warehouse, and it's got a little office next to it. It's so we can expand. We also have 2 new employees. Who are they, sir?
My mom and dad.
Yep, Sarah's mom and dad are now working for us.
They're officially on the payroll.
Yep, they are been very helpful, and Bob's helped. That's Sarah's father, move pretty much the whole entire place, and he actually moved some of the overstock hardware all by himself, which is amazing. The dude's a tough guy. He's I don't like to say it, but he's a good dude, and he works hard. But yeah, I'm super excited, happy. I told Sarah at the show, I'm like pumped up. I didn't even have caffeine, but I feel like I'm like full electricity. I'm so excited. I think we have a lot of opportunities to do cool stuff, get merchandise. I know everyone asks about it. I see it in the comments. I don't post it because we didn't have plans for it yet, but we definitely are going to get into it.
I was laughing to myself this morning because Danny was sort of last couple of days telling me, all right, we have this new space and we have extra space and we have more employees, so now you got to start adding more products to the shop.
Yep.
And I was thinking to myself this morning, all right, what am I going to add? Because I'm going to be honest, every time I see something that I want to add, I add it no matter what, if we have the space or not. So that's why
like
I was...
new cork colors. I'm like, Sarah, we have no space for more cork. There's no room, but now we have room.
I'm sorry to say, over the years, I've been adding it anyway, even though you told me not to.
I know. I see it in the orders, Sarah. It's not a mystery.
All right, so if you have a suggestion for something we don't already carry that we should, send me an email. I've already started ordering new things, or either ordering new things or ordering one of something to try it out to make sure it's a really great product first. Like, there's a few of them I was like, well, this has really good reviews online, but like, would I actually like it? I have to make sure I like it first. So looking forward to introducing you to some new products this year. And on that note, Danny's second favorite part of the Sunday show, when he's on the show with me, we'd like to invite the bag makers to stand proud. Let us know in the comments that you're part of the So Sweetness squad. Danny and I are so happy that you're here, and now obviously the whole family, all of us. Thank you so much for watching the show.
We're lucky enough to grow because of you guys, and thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it.
All right, your pick of the week?
My pick of the week. Let me get this out of the way first. Sheila Keys Johnson. Oh, wrong one. Hold on. Take 2. Sheila Keys Johnson made this amazing, Kiss McKee
Chickadee backpack.
Chickadee. Dang it! I'm just so excited. I can't think of it. I even wrote it down earlier. But she made this completely out of leather, and she did some customization. Inside, she did a see-through pocket out of clear vinyl, and on the other side, she did a credit card holder plus I don't know if that pocket's in there or not, additional. But
Looks like for cash or receipt,
yeah,
something
it was
like
something
that.
I'm like, I would love to have something like that. It was super classy. I would love to have something like that.
Well, Sheila said she was keeping it for herself. So.
Maybe I was looking at you, not Sheila.
Oh.
I don't know.
I like how you said it a few times to make
Yeah,
sure
I looked
heard you.
over too, but you couldn't see me looking at you, I guess.
Oh, you're so funny.
No, it was awesome. I love the look of it.
Great
honestly.
job, Sheila.
Amazing. 2 thumbs up,
Yep.
Sheila. Great job. And I saw your other photos. You have some awesome sports themed fabrics you've used in different projects, and great job. I really like to look at your projects, so thank you.
All right, Danny, are you ready? Get excited.
I'm already excited, Sarah. I can't even talk, and that's rare for me.
All right, so tonight's bag lab.
Oh, hold on.
That's
Are
why I
you
was
gonna-
telling you we're
Oh,
excited.
can we get excited? Let's do it.
All right, so tonight's bag lab segment is an email that I received from Ramona. So Ramona says, "Hello, Sarah. Could you show how to determine the length of the zipper needed for the enclosed bags and pouches that open flat? When I adjust the size of a pattern to fit my need, I need to cut the zipper a different length to get the same look, such as the Creative Maker supply case, the Amethyst project bag, Greenbox wallet, and Ultimate Art Organizer. Thanks, Ramona." Great question, Ramona. And this is a question that really gets me going because it's sort of partially a bag designer question, kind of. And so before I get over to the demonstration, the hands, I wanted to hold up a few projects that use a zip around zipper just so that you see what I mean. So the Creative Maker supply case has this zip around zipper, and there's a little fabric piece over here connecting the zipper on either end. Another similar style of zipper insertion is the Amethyst project bag, which has this zipper that wraps around, and then also, again, a little strip of fabric over here. And then the third example that I have, which is slightly different. So the first two examples that I showed, the fabric strip is just on this straight edge of the, what I call the main panel. And something that's a little different, but basically the same idea. This is the grab and go sleeve from Minikin Season 1. This is the one that's customizable to whatever you're putting inside it. So this one is a little different. So it has the wraparound zipper, but this fabric strip wraps all the way around the bottom to the other side. So same basic idea, just a little bit different style of a tab. So a question I often get via email is, say if I'm making this project, but I want to modify it. So I want to make it, say, 1 inch taller and 2 inches wider, whatever. That's just an example, but basically you want to modify it to a different size. So if you're modifying this main panel piece, we'll call this the main panel piece, how to decide how long to cut the zipper and how long to cut this fabric piece. So that's a really great question, and something that I wanted to talk about today. So let me, where did I put my little fabric piece? Okay. Oh shoot. Sorry, Danny, I gotta grab something that I forgot to put on the set.
Take your time, Sarah. I've got you.
All right, I got everything now. Okay, if you wouldn't mind switching to the overhead camera.
Boom.
Okay, so this is the piece that I'm going to be calling the main panel, which would be considered the front and back of the case. Okay, so what I usually like to do, so here's my complete piece cut out, and here's my pattern piece. So usually my pattern pieces are cut on the fold. So when you cut on the fold, obviously you get the mirror image piece right over here. So how to determine, we're going to start by determining the measurement around the perimeter. So to do that, what I usually do, I have this piece of very fancy double fold bias tape. So what I usually like to do is I'm going to start on one side, wrap it around to the other side, and then I'm going to measure that. So actually I'm going to put my ruler over here so I can have easy access to it. So actually let me flip this over here. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and loosely, usually the corners I kind of come in a little. As you can see, there's a little white sticking out. The bias tape is helpful for, or you can use measuring tape. I'm just used to using bias tape because it is, since it's made out of fabric, it acts obviously the same as fabric would. You can either make a little mark at the end when you get to the other end. I'll usually use my fingernail. And then I'm going to take this bias tape over to my ruler and measure it so that I get a measurement. So I'm going to go, actually, we got 17 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and write that over here. 17.75, which is 3/4. And then I'm going to multiply that by 2. Can you help me out with that so I can keep talking, Danny?
Sure.
Just write down the measurement. So the reason we're multiplying that measurement by 2 is because this is mirror image. So obviously we have a second half over here. Okay, so I've got that measurement. I'm going to pull my fabric piece out once more, and I cut this tab before the show, which is on the finished case, this piece over here, connecting the zipper on either end. So I cut this tab before the show, and I arbitrarily chose a size to fit on one of the long edges because I wanted this particular project to have the hinge on one of the long edges. So you decide where you want this hinge piece to go. It can go on this end, could go on the opposite end. Basically, I want this piece to be smaller than where the curves start. So I wouldn't have the piece this long. You want to keep it free of the curves so that when the piece opens, the hinge can have it open so that it's flat. So if you start to have the piece longer and it gets into the curves, when you open it up, it'll sort of bunch up. So this is what I went with for the measurement for this piece. I actually did not measure that before the show, so let me measure this piece over here. Okay, I got 6 3/4 for the measurement of the tab. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down on my piece of paper. I'll write perimeter over here. Tab over here, 6 3/4, and that's including a 1/2 inch seam allowance because we're going to be sewing using 1/4 of an inch on each end. So 1/4 of an inch plus 1/4 of an inch is a 1/2 inch. So it's not a 1/2 inch seam allowance. It's just a 1/2 an inch is including the seams. Let's see. If you are not having a tab, rather if your fabric is wrapping around to the sides, that's completely fine as well. You'll just need to incorporate that into your measurements. All right, so next up will be, this tab is a finalized size. So my perimeter measurement is just an estimate. Even though I used this bias tape to get a measurement around the outside, in real life fabric terms, and especially when you're adding the zipper in, I usually, when I'm going to design patterns, I usually will use this as an estimate, but I will make adjustments using the actual fabric and the actual zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and take this finished tab size and I'm going to subtract it from the perimeter. So the perimeter Danny got was 35.5, 35.5, and I'm going to subtract it from 6 1/4, which is minus the seam allowances. We're going to add the seam allowances at the end to make things less confusing. So Danny, if you wouldn't mind doing that math for me right here. Okay, so Danny came up with 29.25 inches. So our tab is, with the seam allowance, is 6.75, so that's 6.25 plus a 1/2 inch. And our zipper length, which I'm going to estimate right here, I'm going to go with 29 1/4 plus the seam allowance. 1/4 plus 1/4 equals a 1/2, so I'm going to add a 1/2 to that. So the zipper is going to be 29 3/4 of an inch. For this particular demonstration, because I like to not cut things so close, we're going to add an additional 2 inches to this, just to put us in a better place so that we don't have to end up being stuck with a zipper that's too short. So we're going to go with 31 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to cut the zipper for a project such as this. The zipper is going to be cut at 31.75 inches, and I've got that zipper tab fabric piece, which I already mentioned earlier how big we're going to cut that. So I prepared a demonstration video showing how I'm going to pin those two together. I've got the zipper sewn just to one end to my lining and exterior fabric, and my demonstration is basically going to show you how to take those measurements that we just discussed and pin it and get a final exact measurement for the zipper so that we can cut the zipper to size. Hopefully that makes sense. Danny, go ahead and play that demonstration video. Okay, now pull out one of your exterior main panels. That's the piece with the handle. And we're going to pin the zipper portion right sides together with the fabric. We're just pinning for now so we can get the final length of the zipper. So it doesn't matter where you start pinning. And we're just going to pin all the way around, and be sure to ease through the corners too. You might also find it easier to pin with the zipper unzipped. Okay, so I'm approaching the raw edge of the zipper right here. We're going to extend the zipper a 1/2 of an inch past the edge of where this bottom panel ends up. So here's the bottom panel right here, and this is the zipper. Obviously it extends a couple inches past where that panel is. It needs to extend, the zipper needs to extend only 2 inches exactly past where that bottom panel ends. I'm drawing a line over here. We're going to use that line for trimming the zipper even further. So again, let's go over that one more time so you have that information before you make that cut. So here's the short end of the bottom panel, and I measured the zipper a 1/2 inch past this end of the bottom panel, and I'm going to cut at that line. And you'll want to make sure that you're cutting that line straight. Okay, so discard that piece of zipper. We're going to unpin this piece. Leave the zipper head alone. Don't unzip it any further. Okay, so now we're going to attach that remaining short end of the zipper that we just cut to the exterior and lining bottom panel. All right, so that video we just played was from the grab and go sleeve pattern, which is the piece with the fabric that comes up to the sides, but it will work with any zipper that is attached to a little strip of fabric that goes around the project. I also wanted to mention, if you're working on a project like the Amethyst project bag, which doesn't only have the zipper, which has a strip of fabric that goes around the entire bag, you'll need to adjust that as well, but you'll be in a really good place to do that once you have the measurements for the zipper plus that little fabric strip, which is the strip over here on the bottom. So hopefully that made sense. Just from a pattern designer's viewpoint, that is actually exactly how I work on new designs for projects similar to these 3 that I just shared with you. Sometimes I get emails asking if I have different mathematical formulas for enlarging or decreasing patterns, and I'm not good at math. My process is actually what I just shared with you, and the reason I added that extra 2 inches of leeway is because my method for designing patterns is trial and error. So I come up with measurements to get me as close as possible, and then as I'm working through pattern instructions, before I come out with new patterns, I make adjustments. And so good old fabric bias tape, and working with your paper pattern pieces like we did here with those measurements on them, that'll get you in a really good place to modify projects where you have a zipper that zips around, like the Creative Maker supply case. So hopefully that was helpful for any cases or projects that you need to make smaller or larger. A question about the fabric. What's the purple fabric line? That purple fabric that we showed in that video clip was designed by
Katerina Roccella.
Good job. High five. I don't remember
I love
the
that
name.
fabric.
I don't remember the name of the fabric line, but the designer is Katerina Roccella. That's Katerina with a K. And
For Art Gallery Fabrics.
She designs for Art Gallery Fabrics. Kim says, so helpful, Sarah. So many details. You put in so much work for us. Thank you. I hope that made sense. Did that make sense to you as
Absolutely
a
not.
layperson? It did not.
No, I'm kidding. It made sense for sure. So many people said that was very helpful.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
I tried to not make it too complicated, but like really, this is exactly, literally what I do. So, Cindy says that was super helpful. Thank you. I love your little avatar picture. Kay says, good demo. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Adriana says, this was so awesome, Sarah. Thanks.
Yep.
I think it'll work for a lot of different projects because I do have a lot of patterns with that wraparound zipper type of style too. Even the triple threat briefcase behind you. It would be a little more complicated, but it will work for that as well. So, yeah, I was very excited with today's Bag Lab topic. And don't forget, if you have a question for me, for a future Bag Lab, you can find the information on how to get your question to me in the comments. So just check that below. All right.
Before we end this, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's see. So I will be answering questions live. If you do have a question for me that I can answer live, go ahead and type it in the comments right now. On YouTube or Facebook, wherever you watch our show. It can be a bag making question, question about a notion or tool, general sewing question. Type it in the comments right now. I'll be answering some questions live in just a minute, but before we get over to that, I wanted to announce the winner of last week's, oh no, I forgot to write the winner's name down. I apologize, I forgot to write the last week's winner down. I will announce it in the Facebook group immediately following the show, and
we'll put it in YouTube comment,
okay,
possibly in the...
Yes.
So if you're watching on YouTube, not part of Facebook.
I was so excited for Bag Lab, I completely forgot to finish my outline. There's another giveaway at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. And Danny's been collecting questions for me, so whenever you're ready, Danny. Eileen says, Danny, why when the show starts it locks out my chat? I try to hit live, but have to exit out of it altogether, and then I can chat. I'm on YouTube.
I've never had that issue personally. If someone else has had this issue, please put it in the comments, and we'll try to address it and give you a solution. But I personally have never had that issue. Skipping.
Okay. Debbie says, have you ever used authentic African fabric? And if so, what process, if any, do you use for shrinkage? For Black History Month, I want to make a few. So I don't have a lot of experience. So if you're watching and you do, let us know in the comments. I have used it for a few projects, but none of the projects I used it in were projects that I was anticipating washing them, or so I didn't see a need to pre-wash those fabrics. I pieced some for some persimmon dumpling pouches. What else have I used it for? I do have some in my stash that I'm waiting to use, including some with horses printed on them. So I'm sure out of the ones that I have, those I will be using first. Diane says, Danny, isn't it time for you to make another bag?
You know, Sarah's got a future project coming up, and I'm going to hold out for that. I don't want to say what it is because it's going to lock me in. And if I don't say what it is, you'll never know when it's coming out. So I'll leave it at that.
I wonder. I can't imagine what it would be. Threads by L says, "Is it just my screen that's blurry?"
So if you're on YouTube, you should have a little cogwheel. It looks like a setting button. You click that and you can change your bandwidth. Sometimes my YouTube does that as well. It automatically sets to a lower resolution when your internet may support a higher speed. So I would give it hit that little wheel and adjust your resolution to a higher quality. We do stream at 4K on YouTube, so there should be no reason you're having any blur at all.
Unless it's internet.
Personal,
perhaps, right?
Yeah. It's from your behalf.
Laura says, "Will you be opening a retail shop at your new location?" There's not a lot of questions you can answer, so I'll let you answer that one.
The answer is no. This is not a retail location. It's a commercial industrial location, I guess, be the correct terminology.
We just didn't think we would have the staffing for shipping orders as well as customer service for in-person customers.
It would be a different layout too, you know?
Yeah. Will you have any guests on any of this year's shows? That's a good question. I don't have anything lined up, but the year is young, so I guess there's possibilities. If you have a suggestion for a guest that you'd like to see on the show, let me know. Carrie says, "How do you know what material to use for sturdiness in a bag?" So I used a different. Hopefully, I read the question correctly. Normally I use quilting cottons combined with different interfacings to support whatever structure that I'm looking in a bag, such as foam interfacing. I've used other types of substrates in the past. Canvas fabric, I see a lot of people in the So Sweetness Facebook group use things like waxed canvas, vinyls, leathers, as you saw from that leather chickadee from Sheila. So I guess it boils down to personal preference. The amounts of prints available is probably the largest in quilting cotton. So if your preference is interesting or colorful prints, I might direct you toward that. Some people like neutrals or solids, and so if you like that, there's a lot of different options: canvas, wax canvas, leather, vinyl, wool, all sorts of things.
Sorry, we had a lot of comments coming through. I was trying.
Oh, okay. Let's see. And I think I just answered that one. Yep. Debbie says, "How do you find your beautiful fabrics? Is there a site that compiles them, or do you search?" So I subscribe to several email newsletters from different online fabric shops. My favorite shops are Hawthorne Supply Company, Stash Fabrics, Brew Stitched. I buy a lot of solids from Brew Stitched. Fat Quarter Shop. There's a lot more. Also, since I also have an Etsy shop for selling fabric, I sell the most items on my own website, but I also sell some on Etsy. When I'm printing Etsy orders, I'm always sort of browsing on Etsy's homepage. Etsy suggests things that I like based on my past searches, so sometimes they suggest fabrics that I hadn't seen before. Sometimes I see things on social media, fabrics that I'd like to pick up, and so maybe start there with those 4 fabric shops. Sign up to their newsletters. If you see a fabric shop on social media that you like, sign up to their newsletter. That's the best way to hear about new releases first, to be honest. Why do you always have a different cup, Sarah? You must have 2 cabinets full of cups. So my favorite are these ball canning jars, but they are like about 20-inch size, so 20 ounces, not 20 inches. My favorite to drink out of is this particular style because I try to shoot for, because the glass is 20 ounces, I try to shoot for 40 to 60 ounces of water that I'm drinking per day, and so this is a really easy way, if I possibly can drink a full glass with each meal, or sometimes I'm not drinking water with breakfast, so I'll try to fill in one of my snacks. Then I feel like I'm good to go for my water intake for the day. But this one's my favorite. Patricia says, "What do you do when you have a fabric that frays a lot?" So there's a few things that you can do. One of my favorite things is either before or after cutting. So after cutting is pretty self-explanatory, but before cutting is a little bit different. I like to apply seam sealant, such as Fray Block. Obviously, if you're applying it after you cut, I've done it in the past where I've put some plain paper on my work table just so I don't get some of the seam sealant on my work desk. But if you're applying it before you cut, I just use my marking tool to draw the outline of the pattern piece, apply the seam sealant directly on top of the line that I drew, let it dry, and then cut it out. So doing that before cutting is sometimes a little bit easier because you don't have to fiddle around with the cut ends of the fabric, but I suppose whatever your personal preference for that.
Yeah, that's actually pretty common with construction in general. If you think of you're cutting through a wood countertop or any kind of wood material and you want a nice edge, you take masking tape and you put it over the line you're cutting, and then it keeps the fibers of the wood from splintering off, and similar to what you're explaining.
With the fray block, yeah. Interesting. What materials do you use that has minimal shrinking? So this is a really great question, and I'm usually using fabrics in my projects that I'm familiar with the manufacturers. For example, this Tula Pink fabric is manufactured by Free Spirit Fabrics, and so because I've worked with similar types of fabrics for a lot of years, I'm familiar with how they shrink. Many years ago, like when I first started sewing bags, I took a yard of fabric. I think it was in fact Free Spirit Fabrics. I think it was an Amy Butler print. What I did was I measured the fabric exactly, even though it was a yard. You know, sometimes when it's cut at the fabric store, it ends up being either a little more than a yard or a little less. So I measured the fabric exactly both ways, put it in the washing machine, put it in the dryer. When it came out, I pressed it, and then I measured it again to find out how much it had shrunk. It was really minimal, maybe 1/8 of an inch on either side, going this way and this way. So I was pretty confident because of that little test that the fabric was going to shrink minimally. However, if you're purchasing a fabric that you're not familiar with the manufacturer, or just a type of fabric you haven't used before, or you're just plain not sure, it's always a good idea to pre-wash. Pre-washing means however you would treat the bag when it's finished. So when the bag is finished, if you would like to put it in the washing machine and in the dryer, that's what you should do with the fabric before you start working with it. Because I'm making so many bags, I'm generally not washing them. So these days I don't pay too much attention to it, but it always is good to keep in mind, because many years ago when my kids were little, I made them little pajama sets, t-shirts with little shorts. And I bought the fabric from Walmart, I think it was. It was like character fabric. I thought, this is when I
thought you got it from Joann's, to be honest.
It could have been either one. It was sort of the beginning of my sewing journey, and I really didn't know better, especially for garments. You definitely want to pre-wash, but I didn't pre-wash it. I just sewed the shorts up, finished them. The kids wore them. I got pictures of them in the outfits, and they were really cute. But then when I washed them and put them in the dryer for the first time, they shrunk and they looked misshapen and they didn't really fit anymore. So in order to avoid that, if you're ever not sure, pre-washing is always a good choice.
Plus, I think also when you buy from different manufacturers, such as like Andover or Free Spirit Fabrics or whichever company you choose, I think generally between the different designers, they're still based off the same fabric. So no matter, is that true, Sarah?
It's possible that the base fabrics could be similar, but that's not always the case. Like, you know, some fabrics are just different, handled differently, like batiks or.
Well, I mean, like if it's a sewing, like a cotton.
Yeah, it could.
It's
Like a good chance it could be similar.
Designers, just so you can trust if you feel like you've come comfortable with a certain designer.
Angela says, have you ever made a bag with cattle hide? I was asked to make a few bags a few years ago with quilting cotton for the body of the bag, and then a leather hide for the accents and the handles, which I did. I kind of treated it similar to what I would do with cork, and I do have a free video on my YouTube channel explaining how I sew with cork fabric. So I used a Teflon foot when I worked with that, and so on, things that I demonstrated in that particular video. Probably only worked with it just that once I think I made perhaps 3 bags with it. So I don't have extensive experience sewing with leather. Shirley says, so when can you order material from you all? We currently just sell cork fabric. We do have a few pieces and colors of glitter vinyl and faux leather left on the website. So if you go to sewsweetness.com, under the shop tab, there should be subheadings for those types of fabrics, and you can click on whichever one you're interested in. Nancy says, will oilcloth work for the picnic in the park pattern? Yes, and in fact, I think I've seen a few versions of it made with oilcloth. Oilcloth would be a great option because it would easily wipe clean. Sharon says, I watched your video today on making an EPP, English paper piecing flat pouch. Excellent. Oh, I'm so happy that you were pleased with that video, Sharon. I ordered everything you suggested. I'll be teaching a small class at my mother's house to 4 older women who do not sew. They are homebound for the most part and need something to do besides watch television. Perfect project. I super love English paper piecing. It's a really relaxing project to work on, and it's something that you can take with you and work on. So for instance, if you're driving in the car somewhere and need to wait for a while, you can have your little English paper piecing kit with and work on some hand sewing in the car. When my kids were younger and used to take swim classes, I used to take English paper piecing and sit by the pool waiting for them to finish their classes.
Did you ever do something with that tulip pink quilt?
No, it's still...
So close.
No, not really. I think I was only like 15% finished with it.
Really?
I had a lot to go, yeah.
It seemed like you had a lot of them.
If you've never done any English paper piecing, that is a free pattern and video on my YouTube channel. I think it's called the Hexi Pouch. So if you want to go to the So Sweetness YouTube channel and type in Hexi Pouch, Hexi, and then pouch, that project should pop up. And we do sell the notions that I used in the video, such as the washable glue stick, the tulip needles, and what else did I use? Fusible papers I used for mine. So it's really a lot of fun to make that project, especially with the fusible papers. Karen says, would a linen and cotton blend work for bag making? I think so. I've used similar things. I'm not sure if you're looking for a lawn type of fabric, but with cotton lawn, I've made a few bags in the past. And what I did, because there's a little more stretch and drape with a cotton lawn, I first interfaced it with Pellon Shape Flex to kind of smooth everything out, take out the drape and the stretch, and then I used the same interfacing as called for in the pattern. Rose says, can a grommet hole be cut using scissors? Yes, actually it can. What I usually do is I use my seam ripper to get a little slit started, and then I use my scissors for the rest.
Could you fold it in half and cut like a semicircle? It'd be easier? You
could. And it also depends on the size of the grommet. So I more commonly cut my grommet openings with scissors when the grommet is maybe a 1/2 inch and larger. For really small grommet holes, I will use my rivet press because I have a hole punch for it. So again, it depends on the size of the grommet. Carol says, I'm going to try using iron on vinyl on a bag. Any general tips and tricks for dealing with bulk? Okay, so I'm reading your question. You're not looking for tips on using the iron on vinyl. You're just using the looking for tips for the extra bulk that it might create. So
the hammer to smash it down.
I've been using this. I've been actually using this lately for quilt blocks, but it would also work for bulky seams. This is the seam whacker, and it's a, what's this material that's made out of?
I believe it's nylon.
Danny thinks it's a nylon material, so it's not metal.
Yeah, it's a plastic that's non-marring. So you can hit, it's softer than what you're hitting. So if something's gonna be, if you can probably look at the end of it, you can see there's like damage, like scratches. So this gets damaged, not what you're hitting. You can actually see the little marks on it.
Here, I have the quilt blocks here so I can show you. So my quilt blocks, the center seam, there's a lot of intersections, and so what I did when I was ironing this before and after when I was ironing it, I can you hold this up for me for just a second? I just hammered the center of the seam, and then I hit it with the seam of the iron, so this kind of does a really good job to flatten it. And this would work for bag making as well, because if you're going to sew things or top stitch things where you have to work with the side seam of the bag, where sometimes it can get bulky, if you hit it with the seam whacker first, it'll flatten things out just like with the quilt blocks, and it'll be more manageable for either sewing or top stitching. And we do have these in the shop. It's called the seam whacker.
You know, I just thought about it for a second. If you saw a blurry video when we're shooting right now, if Sarah speaks with her hands, the focus goes to hands. If she's holding this hammer in front of her, it'll go to the focus of the hammer. And then when we take it away, it goes to us. So I saw one other comment. I'm thinking, that's very common. That could have happened. And if it stays blurry, then that's an issue. But if it comes and goes, it's because it's focusing on whatever we're putting up instead of us, whatever.
That's a bad habit.
It does it more to you because I did my hand, it didn't really focus you. But you put your hands here and it's like,
I move
boom.
my hands around a lot, yeah.
It's all over it.
That's it on the questions?
Look what time it is.
I feel like we just got started.
There's a lot of questions left, but yeah, it's that time.
I apologize if I did not get to your question live, but I will be back again next Sunday. Next Sunday will be my what I call review day. So in the notion of the week, new fabric I've added to my stash, book review. I'll be demonstrating a bag making technique. So stay tuned for that next Sunday.
What do you guys think about Bag Lab? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Would you change it? I like it, actually. I love the name of it. When Sarah came up, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I actually contacted a person about doing a graphic, and they're going to come back and see what happens. But maybe a cool little graphic leads into press a button, and it's like Bag Lab. And we'll get Sarah to put like a white science jacket on.
Oh,
you should have had some goggles, right?
That is a cool idea. Lab coat? Oh,
yeah,
man.
like you're in the Bag Lab.
Would that mess up the camera, like all that white from the lab coat?
No, not at all.
Oh, great idea. I love it.
I want a graphic goes with it, though. I'm a technology kind of guy.
A little cartoon of me with like the back.
Let's not get. Let them come back with me and see what they're gonna say.
All right. So the giveaway for this week is
whoa,
some fabrics from my stash and also a $15 gift certificate.
It's funny. Look who the name of the fabric is.
Oh yeah, Katerina Rochella. Yep, that's her. Okay.
This one I love a lot.
These are the fabrics that Danny's holding up that are included in the giveaway. So that one. This one is canvas, but it's so cute. I love it. It kind of reminds me of like artwork in when kids would do like a little thumbprint with turkey, like for Thanksgiving. See, they look like little thumbprints almost, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
All right, I'm getting a little caught up with that particular print. This is a Rifle Paper Company print, and then this one is really cool because it has metallic.
Very cool.
It's I don't know if you can see the metallic on camera. Can you, Danny?
Sort of. Maybe turn it.
Yeah, the gold. Anyway, the gold is metallic over there.
Can you see it more like that? Like it's dark and light.
So one randomly drawn winner will win all these fabrics plus a $15 gift certificate to my website.
Dang, and a gift certificate?
You have until the end of the day this Saturday to leave me a comment on the show wherever you watch it on Facebook and YouTube. We compile all of the comments together and draw one randomly drawn winner, and I'll announce the winner on next Sunday's show. And I have an additional question for you that you can answer in the comments right now. And my question is, what is your most used zipper color? So we're considering adding more zippers to the shop, zippers or zipper pulls. And so I'm really curious.
We got a lot of great ideas for the shop stuff. Sarah's parents both had some good ideas. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of good ideas, a lot. And I would love to say them, but Sarah would probably kill me. But I have some great ideas, very big ideas.
All right. Answer that in the comments right now. And thank you so much.
Before we go away, hold on.
Uh-oh.
You know, I'm just so amped up about this new shop. You know, it's not a new shop, but a new location. Let's give a $50 gift certificate away to the live audience for everyone showing up tonight and basking in our glory of our new location. Poor choice of words probably, but that's how I feel just happy. And let's give something away.
All right. So am I picking a number? What's the number?
1 through 84. But I hurry.
35. 35.
It's okay. 35, then 1 through 20.
5.
All right, let's scroll up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm gonna write the winner's name down. Congratulations to you, Diane. You've won a $50 gift certificate to SewSweetness.com.
It sort of looks like she answered the question. I mean, like towards.
Oh yeah, that's true. Diane, please email me after the show so I can get you connected with your gift certificate. My email is sarah@sewsweetness.com. That's Sarah with no H. And thank you, everyone, so much for watching Sewcial Sunday. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing. Bye everybody. Everyone.